Yo, what is up guys, it's Pedro here, and in today's video I want to talk about the disrespect toward the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels, and how I think they're going to prove some people wrong. If you guys are new, please subscribe. We're like 80 subscribers away from 16,000 subscribers, trying to hit it before the start of the Commanders game against the New York Giants, or maybe by the end of it, but I know we can do it. I know some of y'all aren't subscribed, and again, it is free, and you can just take a chance on me. If you don't like the channel, you can unsubscribe after a video or two. But let's get into it. So we're less than 24 hours away from the Commanders Week 1 game, and a lot of people, maybe not Commanders fans, but some Commanders fans and reporters, which we'll get into in a bit, believe the Commanders will have a big sophomore slump in terms of not just Jaden Daniels, but the new regime. This is their second year. Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. They think it's going to be a disappointing year. Some people have them winning 7, 8 games, and Jaden Daniels having a bad season. And I just want to talk about that and kind of prove it wrong, at least in my eyes. Obviously, it's I guess you can't prove it wrong because the season hasn't started yet. But I'm going to give you guys reasons why I don't think it will happen. I think this team, yes, they did get lucky on some plays last year, but at the same time, when you do it so much, at a certain point, it doesn't become luck, and it's a part of who you are. So yes, they converted on a lot of fourth downs, and at a high percentage. And maybe they won't have the same percentage, but they were good on those fourth downs for a reason. It's not like they're magically going to come down to, average or below average fourth down conversion. Yeah, they're probably not going to be, league high history wise, but they're still probably going to be the best or one of the best teams converting on fourth downs. Also, this team did not lose a lot of players. I mean, if we want to we can look at the roster. And I try to pull up some tweets of different analysts and stuff saying the sophomore slump. It's usually on videos and stuff, so I couldn't pull it up in terms of like YouTube and stuff. Couldn't find a lot of tweets. But let's go over the roster. They didn't really lose many players. I mean, offensive line wise, I don't think they lost anyone there of note. Receiver wise, they did lose Zacchaeus, which I think he's pretty good. Maybe not a 1, 2, or a 3, but he's a good he's some good depth to have on the team. And then you lose De'Ami Brown as well, who didn't have a good regular season at all, but in the postseason was good. And that's kind of what you lost offensively. You traded Brian Robinson. And then, tight end wise, they didn't lose anyone. It's the exact same group as last year. Defensively, they lost Dante Fowler. They lost Jeremy Chin, Benjamin St-Juste. They lost him, but, I definitely don't mind that. And I didn't notice him in the game against the Chiefs yesterday. I wonder if he played. But, Benjamin St-Juste, he's not here. Michael Davis, he's not here, which is good. So those are kind of the main losses. Maybe I'm missing some people. Jonathan Allen was released, and those are the main guys that left. But let's talk about some guys that came in, or guys that are going into their second year, or guys that maybe were hurt last year. Like Lattimore, I think he's going to have a big year this year. You brought in Laramie Tunsil, one of the best left tackles in all of football. I mean, that alone is better than any player that they lost by a lot. Like, that's a huge upgrade. You also draft Josh Connerly. You draft Trey Amos, who Trey Amos I think is going to help you very, very quickly. And then, Josh Connerly hopefully as well. Brandon Coleman, you switch him inside. I think that's going to help as well. Running back wise, you bring in Bill Krosky-Merritt. I think that'll help. You trade for Deebo Samuel. That'll help on the offensive side of the ball. And you draft Jalen Lane. So, I mean, this offense or this receiving core is going to be better than it was last year. I mean, Deebo's way better than R2 last year. I mean, Noah Brown is fine, but he also got hurt. So, I mean, for a lot of the season, I mean, our number 2, like Zacchaeus, De'Ami Brown, and this is not who you want as your number 2 receiver. So the receiving core, better than last year. Running back core, about the same. It really depends on Bill Krosky-Merritt, but I would say, you could say maybe it was a little bit deeper last year with Brian Robinson, but Chris Rodriguez, I feel like he can do almost everything Brian Robinson can, and then you add in Bill, who is a little bit of an X factor. I think the offensive line is a lot better, than last year. just in terms of, if Sam Cosmi's back by week 5, I think it will be. You have some good depth there. And then tight end room's the same. D-line, you add Dietrich Wise, you add Eddie Goldman, you add Jacob Martin, Von Miller, if I didn't say that. You add some depth. Your linebacking core is the same. Cornerbacks, I think they, improved a lot. You add Jonathan Jones, you bring back Noah Igbenogany, and then you bring in Will Harris. Quan Martin was playing all year, hurt last year. So a huge shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring today's video. I do have a pick for this game against the New York Giants. So I believe Zach Ertz will go over 32.5 yards. And that's one part of the pick. And the second part is basically a free play. All that needs to happen is Joe Burrow getting over half a yard. If that hits, then it's $31.6 off a $10 play. So you guys can ride that play with me as well. Check it out. Link in the description. Use promo code Pedro on Sleeper and get a 100% match up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. All right, and a huge shout out to Sleeper again, but let's get back into this video. So, I talked about why I don't think there'll be, a sophomore slump. I'll talk about why it might happen. The schedule is harder. So I think the team is better than last year. I really do. I think it's better. I think Jaden's going to be better than he was last year. I just talk about all those other players that they brought in. The schedule is much more difficult than it was last year. So I could see, and I know a lot of people have said this, and I've said this for a while. JP Finley's been one of the guys saying it the most. They might be better team-wise, but not record-wise. Let's look at. The schedule's hard. Green Bay. Raiders isn't too hard. Falcons isn't too hard, but they're not easy games. Chargers, Bears, Cowboys, Chiefs, Seahawks, Lions, Miami, Denver, Minnesota, New York, Philly, Dallas, Philly again. It's not an easy schedule. Is it the hardest in the league? No, but it's not an easy schedule. So that is part of it. And, you can say, last year they got a lot of, good fortune in some scenarios. I think the biggest, obviously, is the Noah Brown play in the Bears game. But I think, that one for sure, that's lucky. Sure, you practice it and everything, but that one was lucky. But they also should have won that game anyways before that. They kind of choked it away. And then I would say the other stuff, though, that's just playing good football down the stretch. And again, when it happens so much, yes, maybe they'll regress closer to the mean, but that doesn't mean going to the mean. It just means maybe instead of being the best, they might be like the third, fourth, fifth best, in crunch time. The thing is, they have Jaden Daniels, and he is one of the best, clutch time performers, especially, at least last year. We'll see about this year, but he was very good in the clutch, and they had players that were as well. Zach Ertz, really good in the clutch. Terry McLaurin, made plays. This team has those type of players, and there's a reason why they were good consistently in the fourth quarter and overtime and getting those plays. It just didn't happen once, twice. It happened every game. And also, guess what? Jaden Daniels, I think he got banged up, but they just had him out of the Cowboys game, and they were kind of down or maybe barely up. And guess what? Marcus Mariota leads them to a comeback, and basically touchdown with the last play of the game, or maybe one other play. So, even with Mariota, they were able to make it work, and that wasn't like it was a terrible team they were going up against, and they were able to do it in crunch time. So, I think it adds so many different factors, and they still were able to do it. Shows that it's the team, and it's not necessarily they got lucky every time. So I think that will continue. These close games, I think they'll still continue to win them this year. It will be a harder schedule, so they might lose some more of these games that last year they might have been playing the Bears. They're playing the Bears this year, but you know what I'm saying. They had some easier games last year, and this year it's a lot more difficult. But I think they will be able to get it done. I just realized the Commanders-Cowboys game is on Netflix. Here's one. Let me see. One analyst. Where is it? I guess I'll bring it back. But Nikki Javala from the Washington Post. Or I guess she's not on the Washington Post anymore. I can't even find the tweet, but she predicted the Commanders to go 8-9 this year. So that's one of the most pessimistic I've seen from like a Commanders reporter slash fan. My prediction right now, I'll probably go 10-7. And 8-9, it's not crazy. It's not crazy to predict that. I just think they're better than that. So at one point, I was saying 9-8 because everything wasn't feeling good with Terry, that stuff. Even though I thought he was gonna play, and then some injuries. But I'm gonna go 10-7. So a 2-game difference from Nikki. But I wouldn't be surprised if they won 9 games. I wouldn't be surprised if they won like 11, maybe 12 games and repeat what they did last year. But again, I think they will be better than they were last year, at the end of the season. I think the team, at least, is better. We'll see about the mojo. We'll see about the vibes going into the last few weeks of the season. But, I think they're definitely a better football team. We'll just see how it meshes and everything in the next, few weeks. Tomorrow's a big game. Start with that. Win that game. Win it handedly. Like, yes, a win is a win. But I would love to have a 37-10 win against the New York Giants. I'm not predicting that, and I actually haven't I haven't given my score prediction. So I will go Commanders. We'll go 27. Giants 20 is my prediction. 27-20. Somewhat of a close game, but not too close. 20s. It's still a 7-point game. So that's my prediction. 27-20. For the Washington Commanders, and maybe the Giants get like a touchdown or a field goal at the end that brings it a little bit closer than what it actually was. So that is my prediction for this week against the New York Giants. And my final prediction for the season is 10-7. And I guess they don't win the division, but it's crazy because I feel like the Eagles are going to win the division. But again, you have the NFC East curse, but we'll stick with the Eagles number 1, Commanders 2, and then probably Cowboys and Giants after that. But thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Check out Sleeper, and please subscribe if you guys stayed till the end. Comment down below your biggest X Factor player for the Commanders tomorrow. Probably Marshawn Lattimore for me. Peace.